If you've been burned by astrology chicks one too many times and are hoping to get even, then look no further than Witchfire, the twisted lovechild born from the gunplay of destiny, the punishment of Dark Souls, and the feel of Hunt's Showdown, all viciously blended together before ramping it up to 11. Or as I like to call it, Doom Souls, guns, gore, and goth chicks. It's a work in progress. The premise of Witchfire is simple. You're a prayer, basically John Wick if you were a witch hunter and watched V for Vendetta one too many times, and are now set on a warpath of cleansing the land from ghosts, ghouls, and occultist baddies, with a big arsenal of weapons and magic at your disposal. Because in this land, there's more than one way to skin a black cat. Do you prefer to run around guns blazing as you deftly dodge incoming musket fire and demon magic? Or maybe you simply want to do your best a pimp named Slick Black magic impression and rain hellfire from your swaggerlicious magic pimpering. Whatever your preference for cleansing heresy is, this game has a flavor for you. But beneath all the heretical violence and magical finger rings that would make a magician's assistant blush, is there an actually good game there? Well, the gunplay is absolutely phenomenal and plays a lot like a hybrid between Doom and Destiny in all the best ways. The action gets pretty chaotic and intense at times, with enemies swarming you like a group of incels trying to get the last Turbo Jerker 3000 at Walmart on a Black Friday sale. In order to survive, you have to perform a lot of skillful shooting and deft maneuvering, which all comes together in a very satisfying way, thanks to all the different challenges and obstacles the game throws at you. The action is only made better by the fact that the world looks like an edgelord goth's wet dreams. It's a grungy, gritty masterclass in grimdark aesthetics, and it contrasts phenomenally well with the vibrant gunfire and magical pyrotechnics on screen. The game does an excellent job in selling you the feeling of being a witch hunter cleansing the world of its heresy and decay, which is great for those times you want to get revenge on Jerry for telling that goth chick you were flirting with that your star sign was Scorpio, even though it wasn't Scorpio. You're a fucking Libra and your star sign's totally matched, and had he not told her, she definitely would not have ghosted you and you'd probably be eating Welch's fruit roll-ups off her feet right now. Fortunately, when it comes to the challenge of the game, you get to choose when you're ready to up the stakes and make things harder for yourself by increasing the difficulty state of the game through what is called Gnosis levels. They're basically permanent difficulty settings that amplify the amount of bullshit you have to contend with by adding more events, environmental hazards, and different enemy types to really spice things up. Think of it like revving up your New Year's Eve party by inviting all your bitter ex-girlfriends and then giving them methamphetamine right before the fireworks go off. Thankfully, this is a manual and deliberate choice that you have to go out of your way to do, so you're able to stick with a Gnosis level until you feel sufficiently prepared to move up in difficulty and put on even bigger big boy pants before getting your asshole skill checked by the insane amount of nonsense this game throws your way. There are some downsides to the gameplay though. Firstly, you're going to be grinding the same maps over and over again. Not only because you'll die more than Doctor Strange trying to do psychological warfare on Dormammu, but because leveling up your stats and weapons takes a lot of killing, meaning you'll have to do multiple runs in order to unlock the third and final upgrade. You're going to see a lot of the same shit over and over again, and if you're not into repetitious grinding, it can get old after a while. Not only that, but the only way to unlock new weapons and mechanics in this game is by entering those higher Gnosis levels I mentioned before, making it a brutal cycle of masochism and sadism before getting the urge to try something new and doing it all over again. This is a frustrating pattern that will wear you down if you don't like the core gameplay premise, because the game is so focused on front-loaded difficulty that there really isn't a very broad window of time to enjoy your weapons before they get stale. Honestly though, the biggest fuckaroony with Witchfire is that you're hard locked into the Gnosis level you chose with no way of going back. Once you've made the jump, that's it, you're stuck there, and it puts you into another forced loop with no way out. And since everything is more difficult now, You either have to farm with what you do have until your stats improve, or try out the new toys Santa brought you for Christmas and either eat shit until you question your own religion, or replay the same easy map over and over again until you've turned your dopamine receptors into sludge. But what about your arsenal itself? Is all your patience and suffering compensated with a few badass toys of destruction at least? Abso-fucking-lutely, home slice. This game is like that Colombian girl who flings cups at you when she's angry, but then also throws it back at you so viciously you turn into Beetlejuice trying to solve math problems. You see, the gear progression system relies on an interesting mechanic where, rather than getting basic stat upgrades, you unlock completely new functions and playstyles after using them enough. Imagine things like exploding, reloading revolver bullets, and a fucking electric cross that looks so cool it came straight out of Van Helsing.
But isn't that a good thing?
There is a significant amount of playstyle diversity to be had, thanks to how much variety there is in mixing and matching different gear until you find a build that works for you. Whether you want to hang back and throw ice shards at people before sniping them from afar, or do your worst Rambo impression as you stun enemies with a shockwave before mowing them down like the soulless psychopath you are. This game is a wet dream for those that love to theory craft builds, and it's up to you to find out what works and what doesn't work for you. Which has me curious, for those of you that have also had this game play sweet chin music on your precious mint jubilees, what sick combos have you come up with? Let me know down in the comments whether you're a guns blazing heretic hunter like me, or a methodical sociopath that likes to kill his enemies halfway across the map before they even had time to fart.
Clear.
Moving on though, the build flexibility can be a bit of a double-edged sword at times. Sure, having the freedom to do whatever you want is fun and can feel like being a teenager whose parents left them alone with a PC unlocked for the weekend. But at the same time, you don't really know what a weapon's true playstyle is until you've thugged that shit out and grinded to the 3rd mastery rank. So you really have to invest a lot of time before knowing whether the weapon is truly right for your playstyle. And it can sometimes be a huge letdown pouring so many hours in, only to find that the gun you liked initially was simply outclassed by something else less mechanically interesting. And here's where that linking of Gnosis and gear I mentioned earlier becomes slightly frustrating. Tying most of your general gear unlocks to Gnosis levels felt like an exceptionally anti-fun decision and would have been much more understandable if it were like other Souls-likes, where you get weapons like the profaned Omega Max Godslayer at endgame. Having to grind and farm like a syphilis adult peasant in the desert, only to get a rifle that is no more visually or mechanically complex than early game ones, felt like a huge misstep for me, and I really think they should overhaul it, either by making late game weapons more badass, or simply having all of the weapons be placed in the world with you having to seek and destroy to find them. Sadly, this is not the only frustrating design flaw with the game. Not all events and challenges are created equally, with some of them having about the same enjoyment factor as frantically scraping your knuckles against a cheese grater while simultaneously taking a vinegar bath. A perfect example of this is an event where you have to transport a decapitated head without getting touched or moving too fast, like a kid trying to slowly escape from his blind abusive stepmom. It fucking sucked, and it's sadly not the only one like it. And finally, it's worth mentioning that there is one massive gatekeeping barrier to this game, one that I hope gets remedied with the story patch coming out this year. Simply put, you have to really love the core gameplay loop to actually make it through everything the game has to offer. Look, Witchfire is good, don't get me wrong, but at $40, it sometimes feels like you're dealing with a narcissist who expects you to appeal to it more than it appeals to you. In fact, I would argue that if you don't enjoy the Monster Hunter type of grind by doing the same fucking thing over and over and over again, you probably won't get as much enjoyment out of this as I believe it has the potential to. I don't know why, but 20 hours in, I kept thinking to myself, this would be significantly more fun as a Bioshock-esque game. I'm borderline autistic and love grinding shit. But even I felt like it desperately needed a compelling story to push you through the experience. With all that said though, despite all the flagellation and anusol you'll need, it's still a fantastic game overall. One that I think is definitely worth a pickup if you're looking for a decent amount of fun. It's got lots of gratuitous violence, a satisfying gameplay loop that works really well if you enjoy what it has to offer, and most importantly, it has so much potential to become a massive hit with the right amount of polish. I honestly hope that once the story is released, it will push this game into the spotlight where it belongs, and that these devs, the same ones who made the original Painkiller by the way, get the credit they deserve. Anyways, thanks for the watch, Home Slice. If you enjoyed the ride, a sub or a like helps me out more than you'll ever imagine while I'm building this abandoned stepchild I call a channel. I really appreciate you thugging it out until the end though. These scripts take a hell of a lot of time to put together, and knowing you are committed to the full sprint means a lot. Anyways, toodaloo, and I'll hopefully catch you in the next one.